The MMT community is just a little schizophrenic, running at cross purposes to their own goals. For many years now, they have gone to great lengths to correctly disabuse the public of the notion that a currency sovereign finances itself through debt or taxes and is instead self-financing because the central bank of these nations honors the checks written by the national government. Furthermore, the negative balance of the government isn't debt. It is the record of account of the nation's money supply. Yet some of them contradict the explanation by choosing to define money as debt, which is somehow not a debt obligation because the government never has to go anywhere for its own currency, which is an IOU. Owned by who exactly? Do they ever listen to themselves? The canonical definition of debt you and I think of is a relationship between a creditor and a borrower. Most often, the borrower is under obligation to pay back in full a sum of money a bank credits them, plus interest. The thing paid is money, but money is not the obligation itself. The American Heritage Dictionary defines debt as something owed, such as money, goods, or services, or an obligation or liability to pay or render something to someone else. Money as an IOU or a promise is an anachronism. A valid definition when banknotes were debt, redeemable for a weight of gold or silver of a guaranteed purity. This hasn't been true since the end of the gold standard. Perhaps the MMT community are trying to explain money relative to the statement printed on every British banknote. This is where the Bank of England promises to pay the bearer on demand the number of pounds the note represents. But today, if I took a British £5 banknote to the Bank of England and demanded the thing the note promises, the teller would accept the note, smooth out any wrinkles, spin 360 degrees, and hand it back to me. And I would walk away happy as a clam, knowing that the value promised by the pound note had been redeemed in full. At least U.S. banknotes don't suffer the same trouble. Defining money as debt is an insane, unforced error when there's a clear, functional description of money as a public utility, of a legally recognized means of settlement, legal tender to settle all debts, public or private. A standard settlement mechanism is a public utility, and that utility gives fiat its value. Yet the MMT community completely ignores this pro-social and eminently correct description of money in favor of the optics of a toxic shite tax coercion kink of Mosler and Wray.
This is called How to Turn Litter into Money. Does anybody want to buy one of these cards? They're $100? No? Okay. Does anybody want to stay afterwards and help vacuum the floor and clean the room? I'll give you my cards. No. Okay. Oh, by the way, there's only one door out of here, and my guy is out there with a 9mm. You can't get out here without one of these cards.
Okay. Last point here I'll make, and I'll wrap up. The MMT people, as displayed in this documentary, they don't understand monetary theory, and they don't understand the history of money. They have a few select things they grab from the historical record, and then they generalize and think that's true for money in general, and no, it's not. Okay, so they have this one thing that's kind of creepy too, where they're talking about the colonial governments and how, gee, they want some guys to pave a road, and how can they get them to do that? That, they could try to issue money, just print up paper currency, but why would the people want to use it? They don't know what the heck that paper is. And so, but what if we tax them? And look at look at this clip.
For example, if government can create the money, then why do we have to pay taxes? Let's say a colonial government wants to hire people to build roads. They have a new colonial currency, and they offer people so much a day to come work building roads.
But the people looked at their currency and they say, why would we work hard in order to get your money? What would we do with that?
In fairly short order, they'll be like, oh, wait, taxes.
They impose a tax that is only payable in the colonial currency.
We only take this special thing. We only take this money thing.
Now, everyone has to obtain that money to pay their tax or go to jail.
Do you see how creepy that is? They literally show the people aren't listening to them when they want to pave a road. And then, wait, if we point a gun at them, then they do it.
It's the kind of optics right-wing sadists wish they could express themselves, but they have to argue government bad in order to legitimize inflicting austerity on the poors. Instead of a clean pro-social message everyone can get behind, we get instead this song and dance of government isn't subject to debt because it's self-financing, but it's self-financing because it points a gun to your head and tells you to pay taxes in the coin of the realm, granting fiat its purchasing power. Hey, isn't that wonderful? Government totally isn't the means to subjugate the public that the right wing screeches about, because the reason the right wing equates government finances with household finances is precisely because the rentier class wants government to be pointing guns at people's heads to pay debt. For the right wing, government exists to expand their wealth and power. They have to assert control over money in order to make government an exponent of their wealth and power. Now, taxes have to exist because the government creates money in the act of spending. It directly furnishes it to the economy, and it has to be culled from the economy to prevent it from piling up to infinity. But this brings us to the crux of the matter. Who is that fiat money being spent on? Where does it end up? And where is the money pruned from? With billionaires running the chicken coop, the answer is pretty clear. The lion's share goes directly into their pockets. It goes into companies that Peter Thiel owns or Elon Musk owns, and so on and so forth. And the people and things the government used to spend on, farmers, scientists, public health officials, healthcare workers, pensioners, children, and on infrastructure that serves us all of that's been slashed by austerity or privatized. And the money that went into our pockets that we used to be able to spend on our communities, all that money is gone. A Niagara of freshly minted money is lavished on privatized healthcare, spaceflight, failed water and sewer systems, the military-industrial complex, mass surveillance, AI, and crypto. The beneficiaries are never taxed. That's our job. We get taxed and they don't. We are the ones told to surrender the few pennies that we get in order to right-size the money supply, as if they could in the first place. Morbid, cancerous wealth grows by leaps and bounds while our wealth is sent to the incinerator. This is the gigantic con and moral abomination of our political and economic reality. Unimaginably wealthy tyrants have seized the means of government and the magic money machine in order to render us a permanent underclass.